Here is a complete guide for everything you need to know to race this week's Zwift Racing League course. The course for this week's Zwift Racing League is a 2018 UCI Worlds course, and riders will be racing one lap of the course. It's around 15 miles with 1,600 feet of climbing. The route will first take you through the start of the Innsbruck Ring course, and then you'll make a left turn to go up the Innsbruck KOM. The Innsbruck KOM is probably the most significant part of this route because it's a pretty long climb. It's very comparable to the Epic KOM distance-wise and elevation gain-wise. So yeah, let's dive into the details. The Innsbruck KOM covers 7.43 miles, has an average grade of 6%, and it is the only climb in Innsbruck, aside from the leg snapper, which is a pretty well-known climb, even though it's not technically a climb, but yeah, whatever. And for those of you who have not completed the route, you also get 470 XP, which is quite a bit if you think about it. The climb will take the top riders around 18 minutes at fastest, and for the majority of the riders, it'll be mid-20s to the early 30s. I'd say that A would probably finish in around 20 to 21 minutes, B maybe 23 minutes, C 25-ish, and D more like 27 to 30-ish. That's for the top riders, or the top climbers I should say, in each category. Okay, time to talk tactics. Tactics wise, the most of the tactics will likely be needed on the climb, the leg snapper, and the sprint. Playing the climb out right is probably the most crucial part of the race. Once you lose the front group, it's going to be hard to catch back on. So the best thing to do is probably stay in the top 5 to 10 riders all the way up the KOM if you can, because once you start going down the hill, it's pretty much impossible to start to catch on to the riders. And really using your energy when riders attack to get the points at the top of KOM will be very helpful, because as I said earlier, once you start going down the hill, there's no catching back up, especially when the front group is larger than the chasers behind. On the KOM, that is when the race will be pretty spread out. You'll probably see riders a few minutes behind and some riders a few minutes ahead, depending on where you are in the race. I'd say the lead group is probably going to finish 30 seconds to a minute faster than the rest of the group. So there's going to be a pretty good big gap between the first few riders and the last few riders. Unless you are really confident in your 3-minute power, I don't think there are that many places where attacks would be very crucial. One place that riders will try to attack is on the leg snapper, but most riders will just follow along with that attack, as the group will stay pretty close together on the leg snapper, and there may be one or two off the front, but they'll probably be brought in coming down from the leg snapper. Leading into the sprint, if you are someone with a strong 3-minute power or so, and you are in the top 10 riders, I'd say it's probably worth it to give it a go and see if you can get a gap and try to take some points by doing a breakaway on the leg snapper. The climb does have some ups and downs on it, so on the flatter portions of the race, I would recommend trying to stay in the top few riders, because that's where you don't want to get a gap on the riders, because if you start to fall behind, it's going to be even harder to pull back the riders on the climb. Here is some information about the points on this race. The following places are places that you can get points at for this race. The first place to get points is the top of the KOM. There would be the usual point system for that. And then the second place for points is just after the leg snapper. So the group will be a bit separated when you hit the sprint. And yeah, you'll be able to get points at the sprint. There'll be faster through segment, faster across line. Most of the fastest across the line are going to go to the climbers who are going to be coming through the sprint earlier. So most of the points for sprinters this week will just be the fastest through segment points. Heading down the hill, I'd suspect that most of the riders would be super tucking. Pedaling is going to be pretty useless unless you're a lighter rider, but for those of you who are a lighter rider, I'd be very cautious while going down the hill, because if you do get dropped, as I said earlier, there's no catching back up. So the heavier riders will definitely be super tucking down the majority of the climb. There is one part where it flattens out a bit, but other than that, you'll be able to super tuck most of the downhill. Here is some information on bike choice for this race. I would recommend using a good all-arounder frame. So for most riders, that would be the Concept Z1, the Tron bike. And for some of you who have already got some of the more advanced bikes, I would highly recommend the Scott Addict RC with either the NV SES 7.8 or the DT Swiss ARC 62s. Oops, not ARC, die-cut. You can see that here. Another good all-arounder choice would probably be the Pinarello Dogma F, since it's one of the best all-arounders in the game. It will specialize towards the aero values more than the climbs, so if you're going for more of the sprint points but still don't want to lose too much on the climbs, Pinarello Dogma F is probably the way to go. That's pretty much it for bike choice, so it's pretty simple for this week, as for most riders, it's just use the Tron bike. Here's some more information about power-ups on this race. This week's power-ups that would be in play include the Anvil, Truck Boost, and Featherweight. The best place to use the Anvil is coming down the main KOM or coming down from the leg snapper. Since the Anvil is a shorter power-up and it has quite a bit of effect, you won't want to use it on the short, small downhills. You want to use it on the longer ones like the KOM downhill. The Truck Boost can be used pretty much anywhere, except not the best to use on the climb, likely on the downhill to get some rest, or using it on the sprint or the finishing sprint. The Featherweight power-up would be the most useful on the climb, or the leg snapper. On the leg snapper, this is a great power-up to use because it'll help you get a small gap and help spread out the group, maybe drop a few riders before the sprint. The Featherweight power-up is also a great way to get the points at the top of the KOM. So if you need the last little kick to get the points, you can always use the feather power-up if you have a feather power-up. Lastly, regarding Recon races, there are loads of Recon races out there, like the Electric Spirit Co. race series, Wahoo Lake Cold race series, and dozens more. I have some of those linked below in the description, so you can check those out. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like, subscribe. If you have any comments or feedback, please leave them in the comment section below. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon.